Welcome to this video. We will tackle some fundamental questions about percentages. These problems might be easy to some. If you find them challenging, there is no need to worry. It just means that there is plenty of room for improvement. So give them a try, see how quickly you can solve them, and let's dive in. And don't forget that the point is to challenge yourself and learn something new. The price of car depreciates in the first year by 25%, and the second year by 20%, and third year by 15%, and so on. Final price after 3 years. The present cost is 10 lakhs. Okay. So when the value of something depreciates by a certain percentage, it's basically 1 minus that certain percentage by 100. This is the factor you need to multiply it with. So if the car's price is 10 lakhs, then you multiply it with this to get the value of the car after depreciation. That is, if the depreciation is instead, let's say 25%, it would become 10 lakhs times 1 minus 25 by 100. That is 10 lakhs times 75 by 100, which is, well, 7.5 lakhs. So we need to do that three times, once for 25% and then 20% and then 15%. Instead of doing this every time, we could just convert the percentages into fractions. So when we reduce something by 25%, it would be equivalent to multiplying it by 3 by 4, or in decimal forms 0.75. So our answer basically is 10 lakhs times 0.75 times zero point 0.8 times 0.85 for each of those percentages given in the questions. That is 0.25, zero point 0.2, and 0.15 respectively. We can either use the decimal forms or the equivalent fractional forms. 3 by 4, 4 by 5, this would be 17 by 20. So this is 5 times 2, 10. 3 times 17, that's 51 by 10, that's 5.1 lakhs. 220% of a number x is 44. What is 44% of x? Okay, so anytime there's a percentage of number, let's say that's 220% of x, it's basically saying that 220 times x by 100. So it's another way of saying that 2.2x equals 44. So x is basically 44 by 2.2, which is 20. So we are being asked what is 44% of x. So that is 0.44 times x equal to 20 times 0.44, which is the numbers increase by 20% and then decrease by 10%. Find the net. Okay. When the number is increased by 20%, well, it becomes 100 becomes 120. It's basically equivalent to saying it's multiplied by 1.2. This is something you should keep handy. I'm not saying that this is how you should tackle all the problems, but you should keep it handy. So when there are successive percentage increases or decreases, any kind of percentage changes, you could just multiply these values instead of doing it in the old fashioned way like this. So 100 plus 20% is 120, and then minus 10% would be minus 12, that is 108. So there's a net change of 8%, positive 8%. That is, instead of doing that, if we just go, it's 1.2 times a decrease of 10% would be zero point 0.9, that is 1.08. So it's a net positive increase of 8%. In our office, 60% are female employees, 50% of the all male employees are computer literate. There are 62% computer literate out of 600 employees. Then the number of female employees who are computer literate, provided that our employees are either male or female. So just by this, apparently, we cannot conclude that the 100% of employees consists of 60% of female and 40% of males. Well, that's why you read the whole question always. So out of these, out of the whole, out of all the male employees, it said that 50% are computer literate. That is, 20% of males are computer literate and 20% are illiterate. But it's also given that the total, the 100%, is 1600 employees and 62% of all the employees are literate, computer literate. So that would mean if we take away the 20%, we remain with 42% of females as literate, and the rest, whatever it is, that's 18% as illiterate. Yeah, so we want to know the number of female employees that are computer literate, which is 42%. And as 100% is 1600, 1% is 16. So 42% is 42 times 16, that is 640 plus 32, 672. This is a fun question. So this is one of those kinds of questions where the answer is inside the question, if you can find it. So the square of a positive number is 2000% greater than the number itself. Then the square of the number is, let's see why. So let's see how. From the question, if we assume the number as x, it says that x squared is basically 20 times greater than the number itself. 20 times greater than the number itself. That is 20x plus x, which is 21x. Where x equal to 21. So the square of that number x squared is 441. There should not be any problem in arriving at this, but if you do, let me try to simplify it even more. So a certain number is 2000% greater than the number itself. That means it's 2000 plus 100% of that number. That is, it's 2100% of that number, which is 21 times of that number. Sorry, this should be x squared. So when you divide the both sides by x, it is x equals 21. And hence x squared equal to 441. We arrive at the same result. The time duration of 1 hour 45 minutes is what percent of a day? This is just a basic percentage question. So we just need to calculate what 1 hour 45 minutes by 1 day times 100 equals. So what would that equal? 1 hour 45 minutes would be 1 3 by 4 of an hour. Divide that by 24 times 100, which is 7 by 4 times 24 into 100. This goes 25 times. So it's 7 times 25 by 24, which is slightly bigger than 7. That is 7 times something greater than 1. So the answer is slightly larger than 7, but there are two possibilities, and those are like not too far apart. So we need to calculate it. So it's 7 plus 7 by 24, 7 by 24, and 7 by 24 is slightly larger than 6 by 24, which is 0.25. So it's at least 7.25. Yeah, here's another fun question. 125% of x is 100. So that is 1.25 times x is 100. So what is x? X is 100 by 1.25. That is 100 by 5 times 4, which is 80. But if you look at the question, you don't even need to calculate the value of x, because 125% of x is 100. That would mean that x is actually less than 100. It cannot be possibly more than 100. So there is only one option for that. 498 is 17% less than the number by. The grammar seems off with the question here, but I'm going to infer that 498 is 1 minus 17 by 100 of what? So that is 83 by 100 times x equals 498. So x is 498 by 83 times 100, that is 600. I guess you could even like go with the options here and calculate. This is the simplest number. So 600 times 17% would be 102. And if you subtract 102 out of 600, that would give you 498. So this would be the correct answer. A person gave 20% of his income to his elder son, 30% of the remaining to the younger son, and the 10% of the balance he donated to a trust. He's left with 10,080 rupees. So, out of the 100%, he gave 20% to his elder son. So, only 80% remains. And out of the rest, that is, out of this 80%, 30% has been given to his younger son. So, that would be 24%. So, we are left with 100 minus 44, that is 56%. And out of this 56%, he donated 10% to a trust, that is 56 minus 5.6, which is 50.4. So he is left with 50.4% of his income, which is 10,080. So what is 100%? Well, if this is 50%, I would say 100% is 20160. But we also have to take this 0.4% into account. And I don't think there is any other number in here that is actually near 20k. So this is our answer. Price of petrol is increased by 25%. So if if it was 100 before, it became 125. So by how much percent a car owner should reduce consumption so that the expenditure would not be increased? So the expenditure is a product of consumption and price. So if the expenditure is supposed to be constant, so when the price is increased by a certain percentage, the consumption should decrease in the same inverse proportion. So the price increased by 25%, that is, it became 5 by 4, the consumption should become 4 by 5 of the original value, so that the expenditure remains constant. So this 4 by 5 would lead to an 80% value of the consumption, that is, it's reduced by 20%. In an exam, a student must get 36% marks to pass. When he gets 190, he is failed by 35 marks. So 36% is the pass mark, and we know that he fails when he gets 190 by 35 marks. So this 225 marks is actually equivalent to 36% of the total marks. So the total marks would be 225 by 36 times 100, which is which is 625 marks. Number increased by 22.5% gives 98. Number is 22.5 is 45 by 2. So 1 plus 45 by 200 times x is 98. 9 and 44 is 9 by 40. So 49 by 40 times x is 98, and hence x equals, it goes 2 times, that's 2 times 40, which is 80. First and second numbers are less than a third number by 30% and 37% respectively. So second number is less than the first by. So we'll have to assume the third number as 100 for simplicity's sake. The first number would be 30 less than 100, that is 70. And the second number would be 37% less than 100, that is 63. The question is that the second number is less than the first by. So 63 is less than 70 by, well, the difference is 7. Well, by 70, that is, we are comparing it with the first number, that is 10%.